Hey babe, I hope you're well. I hope you've been well, and I hope you intend on staying well. Welcome to the 19th episode of Between Me and the Ink. If you're new here, thank you so much for stopping by. My name is Faye, and I have some notes. Today I want to talk about something that has been very prominent in my life in the recent time, and this pesky little thing is called self-doubt. By definition, self-doubt is a lack of faith in yourself, or a feeling of doubt or uncertainty about your abilities. It can be linked to either perfectionism or low self-esteem, both of which are different problems altogether. For the most part, self-doubt is learned from experience or from the opinion of others. Most children are very confident and comfortable in who they are, but at some point as they grow, they either fail enough times for them to start doubting whether they can actually do something right, or they are told often enough that they're not good enough and they end up believing it. In the first part of this episode, I want to talk about how to know that you have some self-doubt, because it's not as obvious as it may seem. The first sign is usually procrastination or a lack of motivation. When you have things to do and you find yourself really not wanting to do them, you create so many excuses and so many distractions. That means that there's a part of you that doubts your ability to complete the task ahead. The second sign that you have self-doubt is decision paralysis. If you have a very hard time making a decision, it means you're terrified of failing, which translates to the fact that you doubt your ability to make the right decision. The third sign is a difficulty accepting compliments and accolades. Most people with self-doubt will downplay their achievements because they don't think they're that good. If you experience negative self-talk, you keep beating yourself down, or you avoid challenges all the time because you'd rather take the easier path. It also means that you doubt yourself because you don't think you can overcome any challenges. If you assume that other people are better than you without any aids, that is definitely self-doubt. If you have an external locus of control and you tend to play the victim role, that means you really doubt your abilities. One thing that I know of self-doubt is that it gives you an almost pathological inability to change the things that other people find easy to change. For example, if you don't like the way your life is going, most people reinvent themselves. People change their jobs, change their careers, change their whole lives when they're not happy with how they are. But then you'll find other people who live lives that they don't really like for a very long time because they are more comfortable being the victim. Maybe they are more familiar with being the victim. They don't believe that they have the capacity or even sometimes the responsibility to do better. Another sign is that you have a hard time stating and asking for what you need, or you lack boundaries because you don't even believe you deserve to be included. So when you are, you allow yourself to be a walkover. There are so many other signs and symptoms of self-doubt you might have experienced, or you know someone who has experienced them. And my overall point is that if you feel like you doubt yourself in any context, first of all, everyone experiences self-doubt at one point or another. Secondly, there are tools that you can use to help you cope, because for the most, you can't completely eliminate self-doubt from your life. There are three things that most people do in order to deal with self-doubt. The first one is self-handicapping. This is where you use drugs and alcohol, or you procrastinate, or you give up control and put the blame on someone else. Self-handicap includes avoiding accountability because you don't want to see the role that you can play or that you are playing in your life. Another way that people deal with self-doubt is overachievement. You curate your life to prevent mistakes or failures completely by boosting your competence. I do this a lot where I will deep dive into a topic because I feel like I don't know enough about it. And for the most part, it's not a bad thing. Some people will read a lot, they'll take classes, they'll watch so many videos, or listen to so many podcasts, they'll do therapy. And all of that is good, but the problem here is that when you take the path of overachievement, you're setting such high standards for yourself that any mistake or any instance of failure will tear you down. The third way that people usually deal with self-doubt is through imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome is where you doubt that you're worthy of all the success that you've attained. So every piece of evidence shows you that you are really good, but you choose to discredit it. And obviously none of these three options work. I love the idea of doing it afraid. Like, yes, you doubt yourself. Yes, you're terrified that you're going to fail, but you still do it. I know that is not a practical solution. So Here is how I think you should maybe deal with self-doubt. 1. Cultivate a healthy sense of self-worth that is inherent and not dependent on external factors. This means that you need to see your worth in a way that allows you to still love yourself even at your worst. Like, yeah, so you failed that exam, it's fine. You lost your job, okay. Maybe you got dumped, still fine. You're still amazing. Your self-worth is still intact regardless of what happens outside of you. This works because failure is an inevitable part of the human experience. The second thing is that you need to embrace growth. In your early 20s, there's probably a time when you are like, I am who I am. Yeah? Take it or leave it or some shit like that. But as you grow older, you realize that you don't come into the world fully formed. There are so many other skills and traits and strengths that would make you a better person if you just took the time to learn them. If you embrace growth, you can change not just your whole identity, but also your entire life. Be willing to learn the traits that you admire in other people. Like maybe you want to be more calm. Start meditating. Learn how the calm people you know in your life cope with stress or how they process their emotions and are able to deal with conflict. If you want to be someone who reads a lot, learn how you can get into reading. If you want to be a fit person, start doing things that will make you fit. Like basically, you need to understand that there is so much opportunity for growth and you just have to be willing to put in the work. Thing number 3 is to figure out a system that allows you to maintain confidence when you make a mistake or experience a failure, because this is when you are the most vulnerable. I would recommend self-compassion because this helps to build your emotional resilience, especially in the face of failure. You can seek out the support of your friends and family. You can do affirmations. You can figure out a way that allows you to forgive yourself when you make a mistake, because if you don't, then every time you make a mistake, you will beat yourself down and completely ruin any confidence that you may have built before. Thing number 4. Have you ever heard of unconditional love? This is where you love yourself regardless of what happens. So like, you might do something that is really shitty and everyone in your life is so mad at you. You can hold yourself accountable and be a little mad at yourself, but the bigger part of you should be compassionate and loving and embracing and willing to forgive you for what you've done. I think a really good way to practice unconditional love is to always try to come from a place of understanding. Like, okay, so I fucked up, but why did I fuck up? The reason I say that self-doubt has been prominent in my life in the recent times is that I took on a project that really beat me down. It was not a difficult project, but something that I knew that I could do. But I ended up struggling so much through it that even when I was finally delivering the project, I was super anxious about whether the person would like it or not. And the problem here for me was that I allowed myself to wallow in procrastination so much. And for the most part, I was driven by perfectionism. A project that I could have done in 2 or 3 weeks ended up taking me months to finish. And with every week that passed without me finishing that project, I just kept feeling worse and worse and worse. And I kept pushing the work and pushing it until sometime last week I was like, yeah, no, I can't live like this. So I put on my big girl pants and did all the research that I needed to do and ended up finishing the work in record time. All this is to say, self-doubt is a reality and you cannot ignore it by forcing yourself to do something when your body is telling you otherwise. And for me, I tend to push through procrastination by just having a positive mindset. So when I find myself unable to push through despite all the pep talks that I give myself, I always know that it's time for me to dig deeper and figure out what I am really afraid of. And it worked, or at least this time it actually worked for me, and I am so glad I could pull through. So whatever you're experiencing, whatever is happening in your life that is making you feel like you cannot do it or like you're not good enough, I hope this episode helps you in one way or another to get out of that loop. But while you do that also, remember to be compassionate with yourself. If you end up needing a break from a difficult task or a difficult project, there's no shame in that. Take your break. Take all the time you need. Do all the doom scrolling you need, do all the cleaning that you need, do all the social stuff that you want to do. But when it comes down to it, you have to pull yourself together, remind that task who's the boss, and get it done. Okay? And with that, I come to the end of this episode. Thank you so much for sticking with me till the end. And until next week, I hope you stay safe, babe. Bye.